If you're looking to learn everything you can about falls and fractures, then you've come to the right video, because here's what you can expect to learn. First, I'll give you some factors that identify, are you at risk for a fall, as well as other factors, whether you're at risk for a fracture. Then we'll discuss how can you prevent falls and how can you prevent fractures, from modifying your environment to modifying your personal exercise and nutrition routine. Before we jump in, who am I? My name is Igor. I'm the author of the Amazon best-selling book, Osteoporosis Reversal Secrets. If you want to check it out on Amazon, click on the link in the description below. As well, I've been a personal trainer since 2006 with a specialty in helping people with osteoporosis reverse their osteoporosis. As well, I've been training other trainers in my methodology by speaking at other personal training conferences since 2013, and I performed over 400 wellness presentations to some of Canada's largest corporations, including IBM, Bosch, American Express, University of Toronto, Investors Group, and others. If you want to learn, want to publish more videos about exercise and nutrition for osteoporosis, osteopenia, and bone health, click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, what are some consequences of falls and fractures? Well, the obvious one is pain. A fracture, a broken bone, that hurts. If you fracture a bone, you'll probably go into the hospital. If that happens and you have a cast, or you'll be immobile for a while, you might have to be dependent on loved ones for care. You'll have to get some help going to the washroom. You might need help dressing yourself. You might need help bathing, driving, and you might eventually, if it progresses long enough, you might have to move into an assisted care home where you have 24/7 care around you. As a result of being immobile, not being able to move around as much, you might develop some metabolic conditions like type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, etc. And worst case scenario, here's a study titled Osteoporosis and Osteoporotic Vertebral Fractures, Breaking the Chain of Osteoporotic Fractures to Increase Healthy Life Expectancy. According to them, 74% of people who sustain a fracture, they don't live beyond 5 years after the fracture. So the consequences of a fracture are extremely, extremely bad in people with osteoporosis. Here's another study that showed that 25% of people who fracture their hip die within 1 year. So the statistics aren't good, and prevention is much more powerful than treatment. So if you can prevent falls and fractures, that's going to be the best. Now, we should distinguish between two major types of fractures. There's a type of fracture called compression fractures versus impact fractures. Compression fractures happen without impact, obviously. They happen when the lower vertebrae, the lumbar vertebrae, cannot support the weight of the body segments above, and so they just compress and break. They fracture. Impact fractures happen when you break a bone by colliding into an object, and if you have osteoporosis, it's not even a strong collision. It's not like you fall during a skiing accident or you fall off a bike. You might just bump into your counter and fracture something. I once had a client who, before he started seeing us, he was just driving, reached over to the glove compartment and fractured his ribs. Something very innocuous. Now, are you at risk for a fall? Well, here are some factors that can predispose you to a fall. One is, do you live in a part of the world where there is snow during the winter? And if so, there's probably also ice, there's unsalted roads when there's fresh snow, etc. So that's an important factor to identify. Next is, if you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom, is the path clear from your bed to the washroom, to where you need to go? Because if you're going from your bed to the washroom in the dark and there are things that could get in your way, you could fall in the middle of the night, and that could be quite bad. Do you feel dizziness or vertigo? Do you often lose your balance? Have you lost sensation in the soles of your feet or calves? Do you no longer have the ability to feel what's underneath your feet? How's your balance? Is it good or bad? Do you have poor vision? And these are the risk factors for falls. Now, what about fractures? Fractures are really about bone strength. And so here are some factors that can predispose you towards a fracture. Some are controllable, some are uncontrollable. One is, are you a female? Women have lower bone density and bone strength compared to men. Also, they live longer, so they have a greater opportunity to sustain a fracture or fall. Next, did you go through menopause before the age of 45? And if you did, that predisposes you to a higher risk of fractures, because estrogen is very, very important for bone strength. the average age of menopause is 51, which gives you 6 more years after 45 to get the benefits of estrogen. But if your estrogen levels really drop at 45 or earlier, then there's been less lifetime exposure to estrogen, and as a result, the bones haven't had a chance to get as strong, and they start getting weaker faster. Next, do you have less than 2 servings of meat, fish, or seafood daily? And that is because the single most important nutrient for bone density is actually not calcium, it's not vitamin D, but protein. And these are the richest sources of protein. It is possible to get protein without them. It's just much more difficult. Next, do you do strength training? And I mean real strength training, not body pump classes, which are cardio with weights, which is great. I mean, cardio is good for you, but it's not strength training. So do you do real strength training? Next, are you underweight? You might have a little pudge in your belly that you're a little insecure about, but overall, are you underweight? I find a lot of women, especially clients with osteoporosis, they're already underweight and they want to lose body fat even more because of a little bit of body fat they have in their belly, which is for their health inconsequential. It's purely aesthetic. If that's your issue, I would say the higher priority is strengthening your bones and then worry about fat loss. So these are risk factors. Now, how can you prevent falls? You can prevent falls by modifying your environment or modifying you, or ideally both. So how can you prevent falls? Well, one is if you do live in a place that's very, very cold in the winter that gets snow and ice, walk on salted roads in the cold climate during the winter. You can also ensure that there's a clear path from your bed to the washroom when getting up at night. Another one is you can improve your vision many different ways. You can wear glasses, you can wear contact lenses, you can get surgery, you can do vision exercises, etc. If you have poor sensation in the soles of your feet or in your calves, you have to understand the reasons for that. It's not just like poor sensation, take this vitamin. It's not quite that simple. There are multiple reasons, and some vitamins address some reasons, but not all reasons. So here are possible reasons. One is diabetes, and I've recorded many videos on diabetes. And if you want to dive down that road, you can check out the playlist in the description below. Another one is injuries. That may decrease the sensation in your feet and calves. Another one is certain autoimmune conditions that decrease the sensation, decrease the nerve fibers, like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, Graves' disease, and others. Another one is alcohol abuse, because alcohol is a central nervous system depressant, so that reduces sensation, and B, it decreases your availability or absorption of B vitamins, which are also needed for good sensation and good nervous system function. There's also deficiencies of B vitamins directly. So if you're eating a diet that's low in B vitamins, which is especially present in things like liver, whole grains, and so on, that could predispose you to B vitamins. But sometimes you eat a well-balanced diet and still be low in B vitamins because your absorption is not good enough. And you can test for these things with a vitamin B12 test, homocysteine, and others. One of the side effects of certain antibiotics, not all antibiotics, is a loss of sensation. So that could be another factor that could predispose you to a loss of sensation. Another one is peripheral arterial disease. If there is less blood flowing to those regions, your feet and your calves, there's less nutrients to feed the nerves that detect sensation. Another one is kidney and liver problems, as well as hyperthyroidism. So this is addressing the reasons for poor sensation. Now, if your balance is bad and your sensation is just fine, there's a more straight path to improving your balance. I discussed that in great detail in my video called the Top 3 Osteoporosis Balance Exercises. So check that out either on your screen right now or in the description below. Next, let's talk about preventing fractures. Preventing fractures is about really 2 things. One, eating the right diet for osteoporosis, which I discussed in my video about the myth of calcium for osteoporosis. So calcium and vitamin D are not really what's needed for bone strength, but there is one other nutrient that is needed, and we'll discuss that there, and why calcium is not the panacea of bone strength. So that's part one. One is eating the right foods for bone strength. The other one is weight training for bone strength. Because again, strength training is a broad category. It's one thing to strength train to get toned. It's another thing to strength train to strengthen muscles. Not everything that strengthens bones strengthens muscles. So you want something specifically geared towards bones. And I go into this in great detail in my video about weight training for osteoporosis and bone strength, which you can check out on your screen right now and in the description below.